What's up, everybody? Happy early January, late December, we're not really sure which, and welcome to SJU. I am Emma Fyffe, hosting today, joined by Cameron Rice.
Hello.
And Ed Greer.
Hello.
Great to see you gentlemen again. Of course, in our time, as this is a pre-tape, I just finished recording an episode with you, but I feel like we got a good groove going, and we're going to keep that groove rolling as we take a look at the year 2020, which is either fast approaching or just happened. And we're going to take a look at some of the actors and directors who we would like to see really come into their own and shine, blow up, if you will, in this year ahead of us. Before we do that, I just want to say to everybody, again, thank you so much for making this possible. We are really lucky that we have this platform and we are able to basically just show up and talk about stuff that we like day in and day out. So we want to give a little attention to some people that are out there trying to make a difference in the world. So we're going to be spotlighting the organization 826LA, a nonprofit organization dedicated to supporting under-resourced students ages 6 to 18 for their creative expository writing skills, and are dedicated to helping teachers inspire students to write. They provide after-school tutoring, evening and weekend workshops, in-school tutoring, and help for English language learners, as well as assistance to for student publications. So be sure to check out the links below for more information on 826LA, which is a really great program that could be inspiring and training some of the greatest future filmmakers as we speak. So let's take a look at the near future and some filmmakers who we would like to succeed moving forward. So let's start with directors, shall we? Because I feel like actors, they're in the spotlight, they're on camera, people are talking about them all the time.
People know who they are.
And yeah, exactly. And sometimes directors, people don't necessarily know who's sort of the visionary behind these works that they are enjoying so much. So Cameron, why don't we start with you? Pick for a director you'd like to see succeed in 2020.
Well, so 2020's got like a lot of really cool movies, and there's a lot of directors who it's either, the new movie for them. You have your new Nolans, your new things of that nature. But for me, a guy I really want to highlight and I'm really rooting for is Oz Perkins. Oz Perkins, who is the director of Gretel and Hansel, which is coming out. And I think a lot of people could easily just look and go, really, another fairy tale? Then we have a Hansel and Gretel, blah, 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 these fairy tale reimaginings. But Oz Perkins, for those of you who don't know, I did a great film called The Black Coat's Daughter, which is this really great, creepy, slow burn film with Emma Roberts. And it was on Netflix for the longest time. I think it still might be there. And also, he's the son of Anthony Perkins, so he has the kind of...
I was like, I know I've heard that name before.
Yeah, and so, and those are big shoes to fill as far as, granted, Anthony Perkins was a director, actor, he directed Psycho 3, but, if your dad is like such an icon in horror and you decide to be a horror director, you got to bring it, and I think Oz Perkins is the guy that brings it. The Gretel and Hansel trailer I just saw last night on a film, it looks great and dark and creepy and moody. The lead actress... Will
it be as good as Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters?
Who could say? This one stars the young girl from It who played Beverly in It as Gretel, and all the imagery is like dark and weird. It kind of reminded me somewhat of The Witch as well. So I'm really, really rooting for him. I'm kind of hoping that it's opening in January. I'm kind of hoping it's something that kind of blows up, or at least allows him to make more theatrical films.
Sure. As far as Oz Perkins goes, has he primarily done horror films?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. A lot of them are usually like, people are talking about this on the festival, and then it goes to Netflix or maybe one or two theaters, and this seems to be his first like big wide release.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, my wishes are with him. That's the word I'm trying to come up with. Ed,
I like my spookies.
Ed, what about you? Who are you hoping to see succeed in the coming year?
Well, there's a guy. He's a director. He's been around for quite a long time. He's from Canada. His name is Stephen Williams with a PH, like Stephen Strange. And he directed like episodes of The Walking Dead, episodes of Lost, episodes of The Americans. You see a pattern here? It's like some of the best television that we've had. And he's on the Watchmen staff. He's an executive producer on Watchmen. And he did the episode 6, if you remember, where she takes a bunch of pills and there's a bunch of memories that happen because she takes a bunch of pills. And just the way that he showed the memories and Lindelof credits him with the idea of to do a bunch of oneers that, you do a whole oneer and then at the end of the oneer it's somebody else. Do a whole nother oneer at the end of it's Regina King rather than, Baz Reeves.
Right.
All these different things, all these different ways to manipulate the point of view to really pound home the emotional impact of what's happening. And it's just like a lot of directing is heavy-handed, and maybe somebody would even say that about that. But it's just so artful that you can't help but go on the ride. And I would just love for him to get access to like some of these huge budgets. Obviously, he's done the highest budgets of television.
Right.
So I would love to see him go into the feature film world with all this experience behind him, knowing how to make deadlines, knowing how to make great television, knowing how to do a great scene of two people talking, as well as a great action scene, as well as work with special effects and fly walls and all the kind of jazz.
Yeah.
But do it on a motion picture budget. I'd love to see that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think more and more we're going to see television directors, especially with the way that television is right now, going into next year, maybe getting access to, as you say, those big blockbuster motion picture kind of budgets, and even not blockbusters, just film budgets in general are much higher than television. And when you're working with somebody who is a television director, then having access to that, they already know how to get creative and make the most of whatever budget it is that they have. My pick is also a television producer, writer, turned director. She had her directorial debut with the Netflix film Always Be My Maybe, talking about Natasha Khan. She's got her start on Malcolm in the Middle, and then she was the creator and executive producer of an incredibly underappreciated television series, Don't Trust the Bee in Apartment 23, starring James Van Der Beek as himself.
Good show.
And of course, Jessica Jones, why am I blanking on her name? Kristen Ritter, as the title character, who was so funny on that show and managed to be this really like heinous person who you still liked her.
Yeah, well, Kristen Ritter has something. Obviously, she's quite beautiful, yada, 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 but there's a dime a dozen as far as just beauty.
Yeah.
She's got something.
She
got
does.
something. And to get something out of her, though, that does take a little bit of a deft touch. I've seen her, her oeuvre not work.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, yeah. Jessica Jones, good. Other
Very
things,
good.
Not so, Yeah. So, yeah.
But anyway, so Natasha Khan, as I say, she directed Always Be My Maybe, which to me was a real sort of sleeper hit in a way, because it was a Netflix film. It didn't really get a theatrical release, but it had this great cast. And it was so interesting because obviously it was very much about the Asian American experience, but I still felt so like represented by and so much connection to Ali Wong's character because it was just really, really great storytelling. And I think that a lot of directors that do work on just comedies in general, but particularly romantic comedies, are very undervalued for how good their work is, because a really good romantic comedy, which Always Be My Maybe is, and also Natasha Khan clearly just likes working with celebrities playing themselves. Because you got Keanu in that movie.
Well, it just shows what you can do with a tried and true genres have their own beats. It's like a dancing or acting. There's marks that you have to hit, but so be super artful right till about here so we can get this shot. Be super artful right to this beat where you have to not get with the person. You have to chase him on the train. Super artful. You know what I mean? All this art, and then you got to serve. We got to keep this running on time.
Right.
So she was able to do that with a lot of elan.
Yeah, absolutely. Cameron, did you see Always Be My Maybe?
I have not. I know. I know. Here's the thing. It's sort of that weird, and I love that they do it, but it's a little bit the curse of the Netflix film. In that, like, if it is not immediate, when I click on Netflix, if it's not the thing that's right there, and depending on the algorithm, sometimes like the newest thing is not. It will drift me by.
Well, and that I think is a bigger part of this conversation is that the way that television, quote unquote, because a lot of what we're seeing that is really strong and really making an impact is actually streaming services. So it's not like it has a set time. Now, I enjoy the Disney Plus model of releasing their shows on a weekly basis rather than dropping it all at once, because I think what we see largely with Netflix, and because there is so much content on Netflix, things get dropped and then we just kind of forget about them 2 days later.
Well, you don't forget about them, and the conversation kind of discontinues. Like, as of recording this, again, these are all these are pre-tapes.
These are pre-tapes.
Toys That Made Us dropped a new season. Everyone was excited about it for those 2 days of the weekend. Everyone streamed through the 4 episodes, and I don't hear 2 weeks later. I don't hear anyone talk about it. Whereas, like,
and I didn't even really know they dropped new episodes. So.
Yeah, and so like it's great. WWE Ninja Turtles is so good. But they have but then you have stuff like Mandalorian or your Watchmen and stuff like that that's coming out every week, and the conversation gets to continue for 6, 7, 8 weeks, and people are like, oh my god, this one, as opposed to getting drowned in it.
And in long form storytelling, you need more time to digest that stuff. You need more time to think about it, talk about it, see what it means for the next episode, to build up that anticipation. There's a thing on Netflix. I don't even want to give it props. It's not that good. But I watched the first episode, and then I found myself just streaming up to the second episode, and I was like, no, I can stop this.
Yeah.
I can disengage from this anytime I want, and I want.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It is. It's an interesting model of, again, I think that there is also a level of a lot of great work that is getting buried because, number one, there's so much content that the number two part of this sort of scenario is that you see something on Netflix and then you go, well, there's like 10 episodes of that thing, and I could just watch one episode of, say, a Watchmen or a Mandalorian.
I know.
And it feels sort of intimidating in a way when you get these big binge series dropped.
Well, and it's the curse and the blessing. The blessing of it is that, and many artists have talked about that who have done stuff with Netflix, because people have asked them, like, whether you're doing a show or a movie, like, how do you feel that it just kind of gets dumped, or sometimes it comes out the same? And they're like, no one else was going to let me make my thing.
Yeah, that's true.
No one wanted to make this. I went everywhere else, and Netflix finally went, go ahead, let you do it.
Right.
And so it's like there's a degree of like, look, it's either don't make the thing or make it, and maybe people have a hard time finding it, but I made it.
Yeah.
And there is a level too of just kind of circling back to the director's conversation of always be my maybe. Maybe Netflix actually really was the right place for it, because it did get a lot of buzz when it first dropped on Netflix.
There was so many gifts. And a lot of people were talking about it. I missed it, and I mean, I plan on going back because we are, again, these are pre-tapes.
Yes.
We're approaching the end of the year. I'm getting ready to make my top 10, so I have to do that go back of like, what did I miss? What were people talking about?
It's one of these things, though. It's like, and we talked about this while we were messing around getting ready to do the episode. Everybody's to watch later lists is people who either should have been or were famous 5 years ago. You know what I mean? And it's just like, 2019's comics to watch. Carrot Top, Rodney Dangerfield.
Right.
You know, it's like, dude,
one is dead.
It's just like, seriously? One bench pressed the other and killed him.
No respect.
No respect. So it's odd to make these lists when a lot of the people that once they get to our notice, we're not so damn hip that we're just in USC film school at the quad just looking at fools at lunch like, yeah, there you go. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, and just talking a little bit again about that double-edged sword of having things like streaming platforms for directors to get to make their projects. I think that the argument is very much nobody saw it, but I got to make it.
Right. Well, a lot of times people make something for the next job.
Yeah.
You'll make something and it'll be like, did you see how I did those digital effects though? Yeah, I made that penny look like it was floating, so give me Watchmen money. Whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That seems to be the way that you get in. So it's like anything where you can flex your skills with the actual, with some semblance of a film budget, some semblance of a film distribution model is different than, that short film you made that's presently like propping up your mom's table. You know what I mean? It's
true.
Not that.
Yeah, making something for a streaming service like a Netflix or a Hulu or whatever. I totally agree. There is a lot more clout to that, and there is, again, the much more likely possibility of more people seeing it because all they have to do is turn on their Netflix. Now, the algorithm of Netflix might make it hard to find.
Right. Well, it's almost like telling somebody about something that's already in their house.
Yeah.
And it's like, dude, no, look. Okay. Yeah. Under the sink.
Yes.
The other sink. You know what I mean? That's what it must be like as a director trying to tell somebody that their thing is on Netflix.
Yeah.
Does it have a the in it? No. Hold on.
All right. Oh, never mind. I screwed up.
That has ruined more movie searches for me. I ended up watching some crap because of the TH. All right, well, hell, the Prestige. Forget it.
Yes, but anyway, so those are some of our picks for directors that we would like to see thrive and grow in 2020. Maybe get some worldwide distribution on some films or some series on Disney Plus or HBO Max, because apparently that is the place to go to have event television, which I'm a big television fan. So, hey, I'm all about it. But moving on to some actors who we would like to see come in, join the A-list, shall we say, perhaps, come 2020. Cameron, who is your pick?
So after our whole Netflix discussion, I'm going with Victoria Pedretti, who was Nell on Haunting of Hill House.
Mm-hmm. Nice.
She was absolutely, she was like the heart of that show. She was like the big through line, like you wanted to know what happened to Nell, why did this happen, this, that, and the other. And she nailed it. Every scene she's in, she's so good. She killed it. She's also going to be the lead in You Season 2 on Netflix.
Okay.
She's going to be, and she's also apparently, Haunting of Hill House, rather than getting a season 2, they're doing like another story.
Great.
And they're doing The Turning of the Screw. As their story, same team behind it, and a lot of the same actors, and she's going to be the lead character on that, whatever that is.
Nice.
So she's got these two big Netflix things. Again, like super talented, super great, and like it's so difficult for an actor to do the stuff she had to do. For all of them had to do in Haunting of Hill House, but especially her, where it's like that degree of like you have to both like sympathize with her and want to follow the story of what happened to her, and your heart breaks for her. Episode 5 is, to me, the best episode. If no one has watched the series, go do so. And that's a guy too. Mike Flanagan is the director who just did Dr. Sleep. I'm like, give that guy. I'm sorry, Dr. Sleep should have done way better. He nailed it. I'm like, give that guy more big to do as a director. He's also great at casting, and so I'm big time rooting for Victoria Pedretti.
Yeah, I agree with you that the series doesn't work without her really nailing that performance. Yeah. And she's really, really great. Ed, who is your selection, sir?
Okay, my guy, I gotta say, I saw him and I was underwhelmed the very first time I saw him. But it wasn't his fault. It's not your fault.
Turns out as an actor, you don't have a say over the edit.
Exactly. Yahya Abdul-Mateen, he is an actor who was in Aquaman playing Black Manta.
Yes.
And he's presently in Watchmen playing, the husband of Regina King. And I say it that way to make a point, though, because he, for the majority of the series right now, but not in the future when they're watching this, he's been such a just supportive, like the role that they frankly give to non-binary people, women, whoever. They'll give them role of like, hey, buddy, just be a reflection of my angst.
Yeah.
Reflect my angst like a bounce board back to me. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Be a talk to while I go through this, and that's his role in this. He's the talk to. He's the, baby, I got to watch the kids. All right, cool. I'm going to give them some crackers and soup. All right, just like you said. Put on your mask. Go fight crime, baby. You go. You know what I mean? And it's so nice to see like this big burly. He's like 6'3", like 210, like just man. Willing and able to do all these domestic duties and wanting to do them because he ostensibly for the story he's not the one who's going to go bang 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 shoot him up. He's the one who's supposed to be domestic.
He's holding it down.
Yeah, he's holding it down.
Yeah. I think that the thing that he does extremely well is playing that holding it down role while not making it seem like that role is insignificant.
Yes, he doesn't diminish himself nor the people who would normally do that role.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because of his he invests it with an agency of like, I'm doing this because I'm the best at washing dishes, son. I'm about to wash these dishes so quick. You know what I mean? It's not some, it's a real duty.
Yeah.
And I love that. But also he is like a charismatic big male actor, puncher. He can punch, he can do all the stuff.
And I think that that's part of what it is that he is this very masculine figure, but he's but he plays feeling and caring and understanding, and as you say, really being supportive.
Right.
So well.
Actually supportive.
Yeah,
not just like,
actually supportive, not just figuratively, hey, I'm here, just like bounce all your stuff off me and I got you, baby. Like he really does.
Right,
he really got her.
So and it, like I said, all these lists are full of people who've been working for a while,
Yes.
but they're just on a certain, they're starting to go up to another level.
Totally.
So he was in The Greatest Showman. He was in, I wrote something down here. He was, of course, The Get Down, which was,
Right.
So good.
taken out back and whacked by Netflix. they took the Get Down into a room and there was all kind of plastic on the floor and it was like, I thought I was going to get made.
Man, I don't know though. You hear about how expensive each episode was?
Oh, yeah. I heard about that and I still don't believe it. You can make Wakanda for that money. Are you kidding me? That's a lot.
I'm like, I don't know if I blame Netflix or Blas Luhrmann.
yeah. I definitely don't blame Netflix for pulling a plug on that. But the bottom line is he's a great actor, and I think he's going to be in some really cool things coming up. He's going to be in Candyman.
Oh,
well, that's the thing. So is he playing Candyman? Or because I'm reading, I keep reading different things that he's Candyman, or it's a sequel. Tony Todd is in it, but this, that, and the other. But I'm like, well, Tony Todd in it, or is he a cameo?
But you know what's interesting? I could see what's beautiful about him as an actor, and why I think he's in this conversation. Besides the fact that I brought him up, is the fact that. You could see him in the role of researcher who goes to the Cabrini Green project,
Yes.
and he's looking through his files and stuff and doing all that, and then has to fist fight a crackhead ghost or something. You could see that, or you could see, him being Candyman, having that gravitas of having.
Well, and that's sort of the thing. I'm kind of hoping he's Candyman because, what's great about the first Candyman, if you've never seen the first Candyman, by the way, it just came out on Blu-ray. It's great. It's so good. Is that there's like a seduction element to Candyman?
Yes.
There's this sort of like, let me take you away kind of a thing. And I'm like, he will nail that.
Oh boy, he'd do a really good job of that.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a romanticism. It's almost like I don't want to say but it's almost like a Dracula. A Dracula type, attractive, dangerous, mythological, somewhat tragic backstory, a tragic
Very
monster.
tragic,
And I just think he could really do a good job of either somebody who encounters that and has to wrestle with their own empathy for that, or he could be like maybe Candyman is some sort of affliction passed down. You know what I mean? Like the Crow or something. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
You think he'll put bees in his mouth, or would Tony Todd be like, I'll put bees in my mouth? Be professional. We didn't have computers back then.
Throw some bees in that mouth.
Well, on that note, she didn't put bees in her mouth, but definitely, as far as we know. But a lot of stuff came out through her mouth in the movie Knives Out, in which she plays an integral part. My choice is Ana de Armas. If you are not familiar with her, she played Joy in Blade Runner 2049,
so
the
good.
AI system that Kay lived with, and she was kind of his girlfriend. I thought she was super great in that movie, but Knives Out is the movie for me that really solidified what a fantastic actress she is, because that movie simply does not work without her. She's one of the least famous people in an incredibly famous cast.
Yeah.
And not only does she hold her own with that cast, also the chemistry between her and Daniel Craig in that movie is incredible. And not in like a sexy way, in just like I want to watch a team-up movie between these two. And guess what? I think I'm getting my wish in 2020. She is also in the new James Bond film, No Time to Die. And her character poster looks dope. The little bit we see of her in the trailer is amazing. I'm such a fan of her work, particularly in Knives Out, where she truly has the most challenging part to play, because she's kind of the straight man. Everybody else in the movie gets to be a total buffoon, a caricature, and you have to believe her. You have to believe in her relationship with Christopher Plummer's character, and she just does such a good job of being the one person in the movie who's not totally despicable in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Well, what you need. I hear you need that.
Yes, you do. It turns out it's good to have a character in a movie that you're rooting for, and you definitely are rooting for her. It just the way the film was done, it's super great. I don't want to spoil anything about it for people who have not seen Knives Out, which you should see. It is amazing if you like whodunit movies at all, particularly in the vein of like a Clue.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, it's so good.
So it's on demand right at the time that you're watching this.
Most likely. We have no idea. It's in theaters while we're talking about it.
Yeah.
If it's still in theaters, go see it. So Unenormous.
Yeah. Do we have honorable mentions for director?
Oh, heck yeah. My plan after this was we were going to, now that we've covered our top picks,
Right.
let's go over some other picks for directors, starting with that. So Ed, take us away.
Well, there's this new young filmmaker. His name is Marty Scorsese. He's been quite...
Oh my God.
He's been quite outspoken on Twitter. I guess he's
I don't know if he has a Twitter. I think it's the press keeps up.
No, I think he did a TikTok about how Marvel sucks.
He did a lip syncing battle.
Okay, so I'm obviously just joking. Much respect to Marty though, and I'm looking forward to his next movie. But there's a guy, Panos Cosmatos.
Okay.
He did a couple of like these weird tone poem movies that my hipper friends have seen, like Cameron. But then he did Mandy.
Yes.
And one of my hip friends took me to see it at the Egyptian. And I go in, and the guy taking the ticket goes, "Oh, I'm a big fan." And I'm like, "Of what? I don't know what you're talking about." But then I go to my seat, and I'm trapped with this damn movie. So many people have watched this on Apple whatever, and like, "Oh, I watched it on my phone on the bus, and it wasn't that good." Mandy, when you are trapped in a four-walled place with Mandy for 2 hours, it is so different than if you could just get up and go make a sandwich, pound a Mountain Dew, go sit down and look at it again. No. When you're trapped with it, it infects you. It gets inside you, and there's several. It's just beautifully atmospheric. It's wonderfully shot, and there's stuff. The introduction of the villains. That's all I'll say. The introduction of the villains in this. I think I'm more scared of these people than I've ever been scared of anything on screen ever before, because of how well he shot it, how well he did the John Wickian world building of these guys, how well he set all that up, and how atmospherically it was shot, and with such intentionality. I mean, it's got Nick Cage in it, and I took it seriously. You know what I mean? Like, come on.
Yeah, he knew how to use it.
Did you say intentionality?
Yeah.
Are we sure that word's in the dictionary?
Hey, you know what? It is now.
There's your shirt.
It is now.
The dictionary, according to Ed Greer, coming in later 2020.
And also, he is also a son of a famous person. He's the son of George P. Cosmatos, who supposedly directed Rambo: First Blood Part 2, which some people think was directed by Sylvester Stallone, and he also did Tombstone, seminal, beautiful movie Tombstone.
Yep.
So the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, because this guy he's twice as atmospheric as his dad. I think he concentrates.
His
more
dad
on,
did like action films. Like
he concentrates
gritty
more
action
on
films.
like cinematography and the feel.
Yeah.
So I think he's a great director.
Yeah. Cameron?
I want to give it up to a guy who's got a movie right now on Netflix, and his next film will be coming out in December. I believe, anyone can correct me, Craig Brewer, who did Dolomite. Dolomite is my name.
Dolomite's my name.
He's got Coming to America later this year. This guy, I really, really loved Hustle and Flow, his first film. I really love Black Snake Moan. I feel like people are like down on Black Snake Moan now. I feel like I see people on Twitter being like, "Oh, this movie was a joke," and I'm like, "What?"
Well, you know what I think happened to it? I think it hit that weird pocket of like wokeness and people kind of shying away from that sort of story, because it's like it could be looked at from a certain point of view that's kink shaming on some level. You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Because of how disturbed the lady was. Well, maybe she just wants to do that. Maybe it's affecting her life poorly, but that's her choice. And so this person, male, coming in and going, "You can't do this anymore," shaking his finger in her face, could have hit that right, you know what I'm saying, that right moment where it might not have been the right thing. But I don't think that's what that movie's trying to say.
No, I don't either. And I think Samuel Jackson is that older blues musician. There's a scene where it's like he's playing an acoustic guitar during a storm. It's awesome. And then he did the Footloose remake, and I feel like he got sent to director's jail for a bit. So then when it was announced he was doing Dolomite, and I'll say, like, I loved My Name is Dolomite. I really loved it.
I thought you were going to gonna be like, I loved the Footloose remake.
I haven't seen it. Truthfully, I haven't seen it. As much as I love his first two movies, I haven't gotten to that one. But I really love My Name Is Dolomite. But there was a thing is like, Eddie Murphy used to have this kind of thing about him where he would like a similar kind of thing where it's like bring on directors, but he would kind of really.
Right.
And I was like, oh, this guy's coming off of a bomb from like years ago. I was kind of in director's jail as he being like a hired gun. And I don't think he was. I feel like he was really there. And so the fact that he's doing Coming to America, there's talk that he's probably going to do Beverly Hills Cop 4. So if he's like Eddie Murphy's new guy, great. I really, really loved a lot of his work. So he's the guy I'm really rooting for in a big way.
And you know what?
Too.
I'm so glad that you said him because I was going to because it's like. It isn't just, and I said this, and I think maybe people looked askance at it, like, what? But I said, like, look, Dolomite Is My Name proves black power in regards to filmmaking in that he chose his director, and his director didn't happen to be black. But he knew that director and those screenwriters, Larry Karaszewski and Scott Alexander, that they knew the story of lovable losers. They knew he describes Dolomite as the story of a loser who refused to lose. Right? That's exactly what Hustle and Flow is about. That's kind of what Black Snake Moan is about. That's probably what Footloose is about on some level, which is why he probably took the job. And it's exactly what Dolomite is about. So if he's, the new Richard Marquand for Eddie Murphy, that's fantastic because I think he's one of the few people who kind of, I don't want to say understands the struggle because that's overstating it mightily, but he connects to something in these bits of material, and great artists respect him.
Well, it's a silly thing, but it might be like such like a nerdy filmmaker thing. But I love the scene in the movie where Wesley Snipes goes up and goes, "You have to light black people differently. It's cinemagical."
Yes,
and I'm like, but I'm sitting there going like, you have a white director who knows how to light black skin.
Right.
Knows how to do that.
He's been doing it for a while. But again, it's about the dreams.
Yeah.
And not to quote the famous poem, but there are dreams that are deferred. You know what I'm saying? And it's like Hustle and Flow is very much about a guy who goes down the so-called wrong path and ends up being probably almost like 40. And he's just like, I think I'm going to be a rapper now. How do you do that? Rudy Ray Moore, 46 years old. I think I'm going to be a movie star. How do you do that?
Yeah.
There has to be somebody who can encapsulate that. Red Fox made it when he was damn near 50. You know what I'm saying? That it happens, unfortunately, to a lot of black performers. They don't get this Alyssa Milano as break. I love you, Alyssa Milano. But they don't get this kid star stuff. That's why it's so rare. That's why Dave Chappelle's are so rare. That's why Gary Coleman's or whoever you want to say are so rare and so apocryphal. But like most of the time, you got gray hairs in your beard when you make it as a black person. You know what I mean? And so Craig seems to understand that.
Which is why I'm very interested in Coming to America, because I was like, because that is not a rags to finding it kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I think he'll get the struggle of being from proto Wakanda and
fish out of water.
Yeah.
Wakanda 1.0.
Beta version.
Those old websites take a long time to load with terrible graphics. But yeah.
Just a GeoCity. So.
Yeah.
Exactly. But yeah, I that's a great pick, man.
Yeah. I have a couple. One that actually came to my head as we were discussing, because one of them, she needs no mention because her star is on the rise and she is soon to be a household name. She's already becoming a household name because of her work on The Mandalorian, and that is Debra Chow.
Yep.
Previously, she's directed episodes of Jessica Jones and Westworld. She's done a lot of work in television, and she's continuing to work in television, and it just happens to be Star Wars television. And of course, she's directing every single episode of the upcoming Obi-Wan series. She is just...
And the first woman to ever do a Star Wars, right?
It's so true. To direct a Star Wars. That is correct. Followed immediately by Bryce Dallas Howard's episode, which was also great. Debra Chow she does such a good job. Particularly like some of her Westworld episodes are very like internal and heady and like what you're seeing from your perspective. And it works super well on The Mandalorian because basically the entire series is just from his perspective. And I think that we're going to get a lot of that with the Obi-Wan series as well. So Debra Chow is amazing. And then the other is an actor turned director, Olivia Wilde. Booksmart was so good.
Yeah, it definitely had a vision, and for my money, like, it's just some people who like go like, oh, I love Superbad, but I didn't like Booksmart. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
How, Sway?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
literally how? Yeah, because they're the same thing. And maybe you might want to examine what you don't like.
Yeah. There was no McLovin.
There's no McLovin. Beanie Fields team with a messed up ID.
Right. But I think that what was so great for me about Booksmart, and Olivia Wilde even has said, I'm so glad that people watched this thing that I just kind of wanted to make because it was a story that I wanted to tell, is that it does such a great job. Like, I watched that and I finally felt represented by a teen movie. Like, you know what I mean?
Right.
Just because it was about these weird, awkward kind of high school girls, but who were very much there for one another. And she did such a great job translating the human experience, I think.
Well, also, that's a heavy theme. It was stuck in my throat. The theme of the movie, more or less, if you haven't seen it, please watch it, is just more like there's moderation. And I know I'm the last person to talk about it. I eat too much, I hot take too much, I do a lot too much. But
live loud, baby, live loud.
Right? But that movie is about the moderation of like, you like went to bed at 8 o'clock all the time? Well, I go to the same college as you, so what was all that for? Like, your life must be moderated between super fun, you might get arrested, and going to bed early and sleeping good. You have to have kind of both. Yeah. Get you a man that can do both.
And I think that because I was so the very studious, went to bed early, had all these extracurricular activities, but didn't socialize very much. I think that that's why I just felt so. I mean, I had my like core group of friends. I was very much the main character in this movie. Yeah. I just really related to it and thought, man, here's somebody that just gets how to, as you say, translate something that is difficult to translate, which is that, you know what, you got to find the middle. You got to find it's not even compromise. It's just, it's finding a blend.
Well, it's also, to me, like the thing about the movie too is like beyond the movie is like, it's a good thing. It's a good example of like movies can live beyond the opening weekend numbers.
Yes.
Because I remember it being kind of a thing where it's like, oh man, too bad. It didn't do great. It's too bad. It's too bad. Blah, blah, blah. And it was too bad. But the fact that, like, not long after, it was then like, oh, Olivia Wilde has a first look deal, I think at Universal and all this other stuff. So it's not like, oh, this bombed. You get no more chances, blah, blah, blah. Opening weekend numbers were not, but this, that, and the other. And so I appreciated that the movie continued to have a life, even if it didn't make its money back enough for a studio to go, we're going to sign a deal with you. Yeah. First look deal. We want you to make movies with us. And I'm like, good, thank God. People, because I think it's good to remember it's not just about the opening weekend. It's also about the effect and longevity of a film.
And the critical response, because the critical response to it was
if it was a 0% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That would be a very different story. But the critical response was so positive to Booksmart and well-deserved. Any other directors before we move on to some more honorable mention actors?
I think I would just have one more. The person who was chiefly responsible for directing, I think, a lot of episodes of Atlanta, especially the first season. His name is Hiro Murai, and he does a lot of like music videos. If you just type Hiro, H-I-R-O.
Did he do This Is America?
Yes. Yeah. So he's a brilliant music video director, which it doesn't seem like there's that many of them anymore because it doesn't seem like they make music videos anymore.
Which is truly a shame. I love music videos.
I mean, dude, I go way back. Money for Nothing and Chicks for Free playing 57 times on the TV. That's when I first encountered, motion music television.
That's where a lot of the great directors of the 90s came from.
Exactamundo. So not only is he working in videos, but if you look at Atlanta as a product, you can tell that he's lighting different. He's thinking of naturalism, but more magical naturalism, and obviously that hasn't been applied to certain people very much. It's either, it's like, everybody's running from the guns, and where's the blunts at? Oh, I gotta film this blunt really well. It's like no. I'm gonna concentrate on like the wing box. You open up the wing box and it glows like the Pulp Fiction briefcase. You know what I mean? He works on this other magical realism level that is respectful and brings some of these tropes into different communities and stuff. And I just really dig that. Plus, he's just a really good director. I believe the frames that he presents. I don't see the artifice at all.
Yeah.
And that's kind of his job.
Yeah. All right, well, let's move on to some other picks for actors. Cameron, who comes to mind for you?
Man, so this was an interesting one because there was definitely like a degree of trying to think like, and I mean, I feel like she's having her breakout, but honestly, Florence Pugh,
yeah,
Black
she's
Widow,
great.
I loved Midsummer. I had loved Fighting with My Family. So I think like, and obviously like she just signed a Marvel deal. She's good for a bit, but
no,
I think like,
I feel like she's in the same boat as a Debra Chow of. She is about to be a household name because you look at the movies that she's in this year, Fighting with My Family, Midsummer, and Little Women. Those are not movies that everyone is going to see. But Black Widow, as you say, it's very much the same with Debra Chow of, she's been working for years and years and years, and her work has been very well respected amongst her peers, certainly.
Yes.
And now she's working on Star Wars. So
so there's that degree of it. So I'm very excited for her to kind of have that. And I my hope always is that if people watch Black Widow and they're like, oh, I really like her, what else is she in? They'll go back if they missed any of those films. And I was like, see, she's probably the biggest one for me. Looking over the list, there is a lot of like, oh, they're fine. Yeah. But I think, I think she's probably the big one for me. I'll be honest with you, I can't remember who's the people in Godzilla versus King Kong.
I can't remember who's in Godzilla versus King Kong
First
either.
there's Godzilla, and then there's King Kong. Like, what are you talking about?
But I will say, dude, I'm very excited to see more of Dave Bautista.
I love Dave Bautista. I mean, he already has Guardians. I think for me,
he's aces, but still.
But with Dave Bautista, I think that what I want people to recognize is what a good actor he is.
Yeah.
Because he's a really good actor. If you've not seen Blade Runner 2049, it's fantastic. And he's in 6 to 9 minutes of the movie, maybe total.
Yep.
And you will not forget him.
No,
absolutely. I think I'm bad with names of a lot of people. So how about this?
Okay.
Every damn body that was on screen in Honey Boy.
Oh my God.
Every damn body.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Because the Honey Boy is great. Honey Boy Grown Up is great.
Yes.
Lucas Hedges.
Lucas Hedges is the boy, yeah.
Noah Jupe is the
Noah Jupe, and Lucas Hedges is the teen.
Yep.
Adult teen. You know.
Yeah. So Noah and Lucas put it down in there, and also a person that I know sometimes on the show I say I know people, but I do because we're in LA and I've been here for a decade.
There's only 40 people in the industry.
There's 67 people in the industry.
So true.
Okay. 72. There's 72 now. 2 got newly minted. They got their brands. Anyway, so
thank God for TikTok.
Right. Exactly. So bottom line, Byron Bowers, who plays I guess Lucas's buddy in the rehab situation.
Oh yes,
he was great.
He's
Byron
great.
Bowers is amazing. We showcased for Just for Laughs festival together.
Gotcha.
And he's just, I've known him for years, and he's always had that quality. That's him.
Yeah.
So and full disclosure, his basically fiance directed the movie, but he still had to do a hard job of getting in there. She still had to like use him properly, and that's him. And he's capable of all that, like that naturalism. He's got that. I think he's going to be a big actor.
Yeah.
I think he is.
I also loved the girl that played his Across the Way
FK Twigs.
neighbor.
Yeah, that's FK Twigs.
Yeah.
Yes.
She's great. If you don't know FK Twigs, check her work out. Check out her music videos. Speaking of music videos, her stuff is sick.
Yeah.
And that's such a tender performance.
Yeah.
So and the director Alma Harrell.
Yes.
She's on the verge, man.
Dang.
She's on the verge.
If you guys have not seen Honey Boy, it's on Amazon Prime. Is that where it's?
Yeah, it's an Amazon original. Yeah.
You have to watch it. It's so freaking good. And it was one of those things that I had heard it was really good, and I went and saw it in the theater. Cam and I saw it together, as a matter of fact, and it was just so beautifully done. I want every child actor to make a movie about their experience being a child actor, because it just, oh my God.
It was great. Speaking of child actor, I will say also the young girl who played Abra in Dr. Sleep is stellar.
Yeah.
Like she's playing like the new young Danny. She's got The Shining that Ian McGregor has to work with her, and she kills it. And it'd be Kylie Curran.
Kylie Curran. Great. Thank you, Ryan.
But she was great. And again, Mike Flanagan, same with Hill House. Like, you know how to get good performances out of kid actors.
Right.
Kylie Curran is her name.
Kylie Curran. She killed it. So good. And her, so she's playing up against like Ewan McGregor and doing scenes against Rebecca Ferguson, where her and Rebecca Ferguson are like dialogue fighting, and she's holding her own.
See,
she killed it.
That's fantastic.
Absolutely. I think another person who I really would like to see their star continue to rise is Naomi Scott, who played Kimberly in the Power Rangers movie and was also Jasmine in Aladdin. But it's interesting, at the time that we're recording this, there's this whole conversation going on around the movie Aladdin, not about her, because she was also in Charlie's Angels this year, but about Mina Massoud, who played Aladdin.
Yep.
Who really was great. He pulled off that part extremely well.
And he's not getting auditions.
Yeah. And I mean, obviously, he was certainly a breakout star in that film. He was for sure not in anything else that was widely of note prior to Aladdin.
Right.
So it is interesting to me to see.
And it made money. And he's not. That's the thing. When an actor gets typecast in something that made money, that typecast means you're a star and you make money.
Yeah, and that typecast just comes, you may be just getting auditions for more or less the same role, but you're definitely getting them, because again, it made money.
Right. I mean, the fact that he hasn't gotten more, okay, this is another audition where I got to talk to a flying carpet. I can do more. I can do more. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But not even that. That's wild.
It's really crazy to me. I do wonder, though, and this is maybe where we'll kind of wrap up this conversation are you in a position where you're setting yourself up almost for failure by being in a film that has somebody like a Will Smith that's bringing star power? Because going back to what I was talking about, Ana de Armas, I think that she really is a standout in Knives Out, and the whole cast is fantastic, and for the most part, a lot more famous than she is. So do we think that we'll see actors in a situation of they were great in this movie, but studios look at it and go, it made money because of Will Smith, not because of our relatively unknown young stars.
Right.
And it'll be interesting to see going forward, because we're coming up on the end of this era of Star Wars trilogy, and so many of the actors in the movie were relative unknowns at the time that they took on the film. Are they going to see themselves in a Mina Massoud situation?
It's a very interesting time to be an actor, I think, in that, and you always heard about in the 90s, before the 90s, but especially in the 90s, it'd be like, oh, well, so-and-so always wanted to do this kind of role, but their agents or somebody was like, oh, no, you're this, you can't do that, blah, 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 blah. We do now live in a time where Michael Fassbender can do Shame, and be like, I am in this sex addict movie where I'm nude and having all these crazy scenes, and then the next year play Magneto and nobody blinks an eye. Nobody's like, I can't do that. But at the same time, Michael Fassbender's a good looking white dude, so it's probably gonna be, but
it's really hard for Michael Fassbender.
It's a weird, interesting time, because it's no one's really asking, nobody is above the IP now.
Yeah.
Nobody can ask for their $20 million paycheck. Those days are over. Those days, or they're over for now. We'll see what always happens. Everything comes in cycles.
Right.
But the days of I think the only big Hollywood stars who it's if you put them in it, it's going to at least open well. Even if it doesn't have legs, it'll open well. It's Tom Cruise and... even some of the mainstays. Listen, I love Denzel. I love Denzel Washington. He's not a guy, if you put him in a movie and a poster, he'll make it's number one at the box office.
Roman J. Israel didn't open super much because he was in it.
Even Tom Hanks. I love Tom Hanks. I don't know if Will You Be My Neighbor is gonna suddenly destroy
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood.
Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Yeah, it's so interesting because in the it's so funny to look at the 80s and then which is this mecca of geek top, Ghostbusters, Blade Runner, blah blah blah, and it's what was the number one movie of this year? 3 Men and a Baby. Right. It's what audiences flock to is obviously very different. And so it's this weird, interesting thing where now it's oh, the number one movies are going to be superheroes, this, that, and the other, so on and so forth. And it almost I don't want to say it doesn't matter, because a good actor is going to elevate the work, and that's how you get sequels and things like that. But it is a degree of again, those $20 million budget days, demanding that paycheck is over. But you do have the freedom to go be Jake Gyllenhaal and be like, oh, I'm going to go play Mysterio in a fun Spider-Man movie, and then I'm going to do like a weird drama and 5 plays and this, that, and the other. I'm not making $20 million, but I don't have an agent in the studio and all these other people going like, oh, no.
Sure.
You can't do that art film.
May we all achieve our perfect Jake Gyllenhaal dreams going forward into the year of 2020, which it might be already, or it's happening very, very soon. So again, thank you to everybody out there for watching. Subscribe to us here on Fandom Entertainment. Be sure to smash that bell so that you get notifications about every time that we drop new content right here. We will be back soon, in a set number of days. We will be live again. But until then, we super appreciate you all joining us here on our pre-tapes. And if you are looking for something else to enjoy over the holiday, be sure to check out Never Surrender. It is available on iTunes. That is, of course, the documentary about the making of the wonderful film Galaxy Quest. Truly ahead of its time. Cam, where can the people find you?
So you can find me over twitter.com/thecameronrice. Go over there. And also, if you dig this, I do a show, El Rey Nation, with Hector Navarro, Gritton, who's over here all the time, Kelly Nugent. We're always talking about geeky topics and things of that nature. More evergreen. You can go check that out. It's also on iTunes and Amazon. Go do so.
Ed Greer.
Oh, you can check me out at Ed Greer Destroys on Twitter and Instagram. On Instagram, you can check out some of my art. Much like Cameron, I'm a man of many wishes. And I do have a podcast called Nerd Goat Podcast, where we talk to people about their favorite fictional characters of all time. But also I have a thing called Reboot It with Billy Business of Hot Takes with Billy Biz, where we kind of take things we take things from the major studios and we try to reboot them in like an hour. And it's so ridiculous, and sometimes we fail. And it doesn't matter because it's hilarious. So yeah, Reboot It and Nerd Goat. You can check those out.
And I'm Emma Fyffe. You can find me all over the internet wherever Emma Fyffes are sold at my name, Emma Fyffe. Be sure to let us know in the comments below what actors and directors you would like to see rise to superstardom and become household names in 2020. And we will see you all again soon. Bye.